Joy, I mean, look, let's be honest. I don't think you were fired after all those years because of your skin colour or because you're a black woman. I think you were fired because your show just got increasingly unpopular. It happens all the time in TV. That's why you got let go. Why play the race card?
First of all, I love the fact that your play the race card is your version of the race card. You literally are so fixated on trying to racialize conversations with me, Piers, that I find it actually quite charming.
You racialize more conversations in your tenure at MSNBC than any host in history.
All right, Mark. All right, Piers. And the bottom line is you take an entire conversation that I had with Mark Lamont Hill and pick the bits that you can racialize because this is your shtick. And I get that this is your shtick.
You racialize everything, Joy. Come on.
I get it. I understand this is your shtick, Piers. And listen, game recognize the game. I get this is your game.
It's not my shtick.
And the bottom line,
it was your shtick.
It is your shtick, and everyone knows that it is. It was your shtick. Piers, we understand what it is. And it is so interesting to me that you yourself, as a white European, find that when people of color talk about race, that you believe is racializing conversations. But when people like you fixate on, well, Barack Obama was a black president, why don't you object to that? That is racializing a conversation about the former president of the United States. But you can't put your, and I'm sure you find that charming and funny.
I find it hilarious because you're the one. You're the one who said Donald Trump.
You and your friend Donald Trump.
You said Donald Trump is a white fascist.
Are so he is a well. I agree with Mark
when Obama did the same thing,
last time I checked,
I'm not allowed to mention his skin color.
I agree with his former chief of staff, who last I checked was not black and said he's fascist. And Mark Milley said he's fascist to the core. Okay. So I happen to agree, and I know this is what it's important to you, with two very white gentlemen about Donald Trump's fascist tendencies.
Okay.
If that makes you sad and uncomfortable, I can't help you, Piers.
No. Why would she say with two very white gentlemen? So if Piers Morgan, who I don't always agree with everything that Piers Morgan says because I think that Piers Morgan puts on a great show. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that it translates into him always being right about every single thing. If Piers Morgan has said, you two very black women, it will be taken a certain way. But what Joy doesn't understand is that, A, I also believe that her show got canned because it was just boring. It wasn't good. She didn't necessarily present her facts correctly, and people got tired of the stick of blaming Trump for everything while at the same time making everything a black and a black woman thing. And when the ratings showed that the people wasn't rocking with it and wasn't responding to it, and now she doesn't have any motion on her own platforms, obviously that's a thing. It's a thing. And I remember Don Lemon actually having a conversation with Joy Reid. And he was saying, yeah, no, just do it. You're going to do. You have a demographic of people. You have a large one, so on and so forth. And she's had this same YouTube channel for a long time. And now she's trying to do her own thing. And it ain't hitting. It's not hitting. A lot of these people have been propped up by the machine. It's crazy. A lot of them have been propped up by the machine. And the machine is this liberal machine like CNN and MSNBC that get these people on these platforms. And they did the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they tried to tap into the whole I am woman, black woman, hear me roar thing. They also got on the train, the white apologists, and so that rocked out with it. But it got tired over a period of time of people blaming everybody else for their problems. And when Trump actually captured every single swing state, it became apparent that the rest of the United States of America got tired of the whole narrative that they were trying to paint that this guy was racist when in reality he's doing the best thing for America. So they can throw away talking points like fascism and white fascism. But then when Piers Morgan's turn it around and do a similar tactic and say, yo, you use race in every single conversation, you know, it hit, it resonate. But here's the ultimate thing. And I want to go back to what they were saying. I want to go into the argument because they had a lot of conversations right here. The numbers is always going to be the determining factor for whether or not somebody is there or they're not. When you do numbers, whether you're doing it in sales or whether you're doing it in corporate America or whether you are a creator, you get a lot more leeway and a whole lot more availability for you to do whatever it is that you want to do when you want to do it. And it's because when you deliver in numbers, that means that advertisers and the money is flowing. And as long as the money is flowing, listen, I may not necessarily agree with you, but I got to have a different conversation because That's what the people want to hear. They want to see what you got to say. But when the numbers ain't numbering and you being belligerent, you out the door, fam.
Oh, yes, it made me sad and uncomfortable. I think it makes you a little bit of a hypocrite, but that's different. Now, President Trump reacted to your departure by saying, low-life chairman of Comcast, Brian Roberts, the owner of ratings-challenged NBC and MSNBC, has finally gotten the nerve up to fire one of the least talented people in television, the mentally obnoxious racist Joy Reid, based on her ratings, which were virtually non-existent, should have been canned long ago, along with everyone else who works there. What's your response to that? Many of us carry around beltlets.
Should ask what Donald Trump to be that you think it's important that I care what Donald Trump says about me. It's a badge of honor. If he dislikes me, then I think I'm doing something right. I have zero respect for Donald Trump, and therefore, if he feels the same way about me, then the feelings are quite mutual, and I'm very, very proud of that and happy with it.
Okay. I want to play a clip. This is you talking about, you attacking parents. You spoke out about their concerns about gay and paedophilia pornography books being placed in school libraries.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer for you.
Please do.
In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
Now, there's also a second clip. This is you talking about Republicans exploiting concerns by minors who identify as transgender. And you said this was an old-age tradition which Nazi Germany did. Let's take a look.
In fact, there are more kids who have been exposed to gun violence, estimated at 3 million, than there are transgender Americans of all ages in total. Targeting trans people isn't new. It is an age-old tradition, which Nazi Germany did with brutally violent ends in the 1930s.
Now, the confusing part of all this, Joy, is what you really think about the LGBTQ plus, whatever it now is, community. Right, because as you know, when you started commentating about this, appearing to be a big ally, a lot of stuff emerged which came from posts that you had purportedly put up in a blog between 2007 and 2009, one of which said, most straight people cringe at the sight of two men kissing. Another said, I don't want to watch the two male characters in Brokeback Mountain. You were talking about having sex. Does that make me homophobic? Probably. You referred to the then Florida governor as Miss Charlie and featured the tag gay politicians.
Jesus, they pull up all the receipts,
when all this emerged, I genuinely don't believe I wrote those hateful things because they're completely alien to me. I hired cybersecurity experts to see if somebody manipulated my words on my former blog. And the reality is they've not been able to prove it. Now you're not at MSNBC. Now you're on your own, doing your own thing, and you don't have to worry about repercussions and stuff. Are you prepared to finally come clean and just admit that was your blog and you did say those things?
You know, Piers, I might have known that you would use this opportunity and interview and that this was your purpose, right? This is your purpose. And that's fine. This is your show and you can do whatever you like. You know, I could sit here and go on and fight with you about your strange, weird obsession with Meghan Markle, but I won't do that because that would be rude. But what I will say is,
if you want to.
We can do that as well.
Sure.
But the point being that I was very open with my employer at the time about what happened with that old site, which I stopped writing in, before I even came back into the NBC family. And what I have not really talked about publicly, but what I can tell you is that I had a very legitimate reason for being concerned about it because I was also on the radio at that time. And the things that I was literally talking about on the radio were quite the opposite of the things that were in that site. That is the reason that we began investigating what was going on with that site. And there was also someone who I do not know, who I still do not know, who had login access to my site for years that we did not even discover because I hadn't looked at the site for years. I don't know who that is. I don't know why they had access to the site, but had I not been open about that, I would have been definitely fired, or you know, there would have been some repercussions. I was open with my
Did you write it or did you not write it?
I've been very open. Everyone who knows me knows about it. And so if you want to argue with me about an old blog site, that's fine. And I'll take responsibility. I just asked you if you did write it. And hold on. And I'm willing to take responsibility for anything that was on that site.
Did you say them?
For you,
did you say those things?
Wait. Not to my, listen, what I'm going to say is very simply
you said them.
What I'm going to say is very simply this, Piers.
You know you did.
The point that you're attempting to make
You just spun me an absolute load of old flannel.
The reason that you are trying to go here is that you're trying to defend the idea that Moms for Liberty and these other organizations can take books that are not pornography, that are not pornographic.
No, I'm just trying to see. I'm just trying to see whether you like to hold people to account, and I'm just trying to ask you questions about you being held to account.
For everything that was in that site, and I took responsibility for everything that was in that site, and I still take responsibility for everything that was in that site.
She still won't say if she wrote it.
I find anything that harms the LGBTQ community that was in that site repugnant. I apologize for it. I take full responsibility for it. But the point that I made in my conversation with the woman from Moms for Liberty is that they are making themselves the expert on books, which they are deeming pornographic, by using a site called booklooks.com, looking for words in the book that make them uncomfortable, and then attempting to ban books by the hundreds.
And out of interest,
let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Do y'all think that Joy Reid will eventually bounce back? I mean, it's already pretty obvious that her positions on a lot of these issues are nonsense and they shouldn't be taken serious. But do y'all think that she'll be able to bounce back now that she's on her own and nobody has actually picked up her show or her and her team? And how will that play out? I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon.